So today we're going to give you some practical applications of the things we've discussed thus far, specifically in the field of health and how that relates to agriculture. So we're going to start out by giving a brief overview of the current understanding or how our agriculture is largely practiced in America, though in many places, as we've set various scientific standards for such. So, and then we're going to go on and share some of the amazing innovations and solutions that are available to us. So, with this, modern agriculture, it looks at things in a very materialistic view. And so it says uh, the plant is somehow sick and we need to make it still be able to produce food for people. So, we're going to use all sorts of chemicals and pesticides, herbicides, fungicides and different kinds of chemical fertilizers, et cetera, to amend the soil by bringing in different materials and compounds. We were able to alter the pH and various other aspects of the soil and thus influence the plant. And in some cases, we can actually get the plant to grow very, very quickly, as such with certain products, and produce large amounts of yields, which from a financial perspective is highly beneficial. There's a lot more that goes into this culturally and historically as to how this came about, which can be the discussion of a future video. Though, for the nature of today's topic, we're just going to look at the fact that really when we're looking at farming, we're looking at like the bottom line. We're looking at how can we produce a yield that we can then sell and be profitable as a business in the industry, which makes perfect sense. And it makes sense to approach things in this way from a scientific and materialistic viewpoint. Though something is missing in this understanding. One of those things is that there's more to meets the eye than just the physicality of things and material compounds and amendments, even in the organic sphere of just implementing amendments, which either chemically or organically is often very expensive, requires lots of applications, and can be not as effective as some of the things we're going to share that can be more efficient and cheaper. One other important note is the state of affairs in regards to health. If you look at like mental health, health in general, obesity, diabetes, suicide rates, that whole field, largely the modern scientific community would say, oh, this is a separate field than agriculture. This would be a very limited view on things. In fact, they are very much directly related. And the quality of the food, or as we're going to discuss, the quality is present or lacking in the food, is a big contributor to what creates health and or creates the conditions for health, supporting being life affirmative to living beings and yeah, and the earth as a living being, which we'll get into. So we're going to just briefly cover some of what's available to us in the context of new innovations. There's a amazing field known as biogeometry, and they have done some really incredible agricultural research. And we can see in their apple study that they took control apples, which were, being farmed with, just general methods. And then we have the applications that they did using shape information, number quality, proportions, and various other uh, geometric or it's a whole science they have. They have many methods of doing this, but the point being is that they took something that would seem very abstract to your average person and they produced visual, tangible results, and actually the apple had life and was therefore life affirmative. We could even use the terminology of life force, right? It has life force, it's bringing in life into whatever's eating it. And they have another study where they took the salt water and from the Red Sea or Dead Sea, I could be wrong. And it has a very high salt content. If you're familiar at all with farming, growing in a salt environment is not favorable for growth, as we can see with the saltwater potato. And we also can see that the control did reasonably well, though the biogeometry potato did exceedingly well. Now, how is this? Because from the modern agriculture perspective, they didn't add any minerals or compounds, address the pH, or do any of these modern scientifically accepted methods. What did they do was, as we discussed, shape information, uh, number quality, proportion, bringing in resonance or vibrational qualities that then structured and influenced the plant in a beneficial way that is observable. They've done many other studies in regards to uh, farming with cattle, improving the health of cattle, as well as with human beings and with um, chickens. So, but and there's much more research they have done that you can explore through uh, the biogeometry website or other means. And also, they well, so we're going to move on to, we just want to cover some overviews here. The Another method is known as biodynamics. Now, biodynamics, we are in fact applying substances to the soil, though in very, very small amounts. It could be in some ways related. Well, really, what we're doing in biodynamics is we're bringing in forces, or in the physics of quality understanding, as we were talking about with biogeometry, we're bringing in qualities into the plant that may or may not have been present before. So here we can see that there are unseen forces or ways of doing things that are not purely materialistic that in some way or somehow are producing better results. And more important than even the yields, because in some cases we can actually produce more yields like this, but even more important than that is the quality of the food, because not all food is equal. And if these qualities are lacking in the food and we eat it, then it's lacking something that would have been transferred to us. Whereas if we're getting the plant healthy, the soil healthy through these different means, pests aren't really an issue, funguses aren't really an issue, and all these other diseases and issues that would address the plant that usually we would have sprayed with some kind of a chemical that then would act as a real force in the human body. Well, now we've been able to address it by bringing in the appropriate forces that are necessary to be life affirmative for this plant or species. Now you also have paramagnetism is becoming more popular. People are using electroculture. Very similar concepts. We're bringing in forces or qualities that are then affecting the plants and producing results, which is quite a cool and magical thing. I'll just show you briefly. um, Here we have some of the forces that are available. This is another system from a woman, Rowena Kreider, and we can see things such as the branch, the spiral, the radial, and these are all present in nature, right? The column of a tree. So these are forces, archetypal forces that are present in us, in our spinal column, in the branching of our arteries and lungs, et cetera, that can be brought in through the food if the food is healthy, right? Healthy plants lead to healthy humans who eat them or healthy animals that eat them. So the important thing here is also that not just we understand intellectually that, hey, these forces exist, but part of our evolutionary process in the current epoch that we're in is actually to participate in this to some degree. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be through agriculture, though that is a very tangible and fulfilling way to participate in that. Not to mention, you can bring health into your being, into your family, into your surrounding area through that influence, as well as supporting the earth in that process. Though the other important aspect of that is that we're working with these subtle elements, that we're becoming aware that when we talk of the column, it is not just an image or an idea. This is something archetypal. This is a force that is working within us, is working in the world around us, and it is tangible, and we can actually experience like what is the quality of the column in a subtle, more inner perception, if you will. And this is the same with these other qualities that we presented, as well as many other qualities that can be experienced, even connecting to various qualities in space, in certain areas in the sky. There's star systems and various areas that we can connect with that have a quality, and this quality will shape your thoughts, your emotions, and your impulses, your whole being, really, your health, and so on through resonance, because you're interfacing with this field of information, and that field of information is transferring something to you, and you something to it. And this is all very scientifically flushed out. Just as we spoke earlier, we can logically understand how they came to the process for modern agriculture. In the same way, we can understand how these things are applicable logically. It makes sense, and it is in fact uh, a reality, is measurable. So, in closing, we just want to touch on the so we went through a phase in humanity where it became so much about the money, so much about providing this food or this the commodity, that we really disconnected, and it became this very mechanistic field where in reality we want to return to more of a stewardship, more of a care for the land, because the land also is, the earth itself is a living being that is going through its own evolutionary process, just as we are. And we can help to facilitate and participate in that through various means, though, like we said, agriculture is a beautiful way of doing that. And in doing so, with a sense of reverence, we are able to facilitate the Earth's evolution as well as our evolution through our learning what it really means to contribute versus, oh, let me produce this thing to make money, and it's all. eh, The intention matters, and it is felt in the industry, it is felt in what you buy in the grocery stores. Maybe you aren't that aware of these things, but the thoughts and the emotions and the attention are all actually going into what is being produced. And so that is the same with these plants that you would be eating, or the marijuana industry is an incredible example of this. A lot of it has gone to chemical farming and crash crops, and now people report anxiety, all kinds of weird experiences using it. That's because it's been largely bastardized. And not there's cannabis itself is a very nuanced topic, but the point being is that how something is grown, the intentions behind it, there is a force with that. Our thoughts and our emotions are real forces that exist and can affect. So someone who maybe knows none of the things we've talked about today can lovingly care for their garden every day, and by putting in their forces, their own life forces, they're able to influence the plants in a beneficial way. And it is felt by those who will eat it and by the plants themselves. Now, with this, further scientific exploration is encouraged, and as amazing as it is to bring in the forces to our own love and intention, which is ideal that we get in the habit of doing that anyway to whatever we're doing, these methods that we described can actually be in some ways more effective and bring in a more diverse range of qualities that contributes to health. And so using methods like the biogeometry or the biodynamics and so on can be incredibly powerful. In both of those fields, a lot could be expanded upon them, a lot could be explored within them to continue evolution in the sense of innovations, right? We in America love our innovations, and we also like things that work. And so there were systems that seemingly worked on the surface, but now we have a broader scope of things, and we've seen, okay, doing the chemical farming, doing the modern medical, the result isn't looking that pretty. Though by bringing in reforms, by opening our mind to new possibilities, but also being scientific and practical and saying, okay, well, what does actually work? Then now we're able to move forward and take steps in a positive direction because we're now looking at things more holistically and encompassing more facets. So, very brief overview of some amazing subjects that we can expand upon. Though, yeah, I encourage you to uh, get your hands in the soil to participate in the earth in whatever way you feel is an act of love for you. I like this. I'll end with this. It's like work is love made visible. I don't know who said this. Work is love made visible. How would your love like to be made visible in the world? I didn't come up with that. Someone else did, but